much, Kevin. And I just want to say that I've used this template for a unit that I've actually taught earlier in the year. Very easy to use, straightforward, and does allow me to put my thinking on paper, organize it, and then immediately it's practical in my pedagogy. So this unit I created was based on the third sustainable development goal, good health and well-being. And the compelling question is, what makes communities happy? The big idea being understanding how well-being and health are measured. And I think it's an ambiguous question because what does make a community happy? Is it the same as what makes an individual happy? And more importantly, how do you measure it? And we'll dive into all of those questions shortly. Thank you, Jerry. And so the overall why, since we have both patterns and principles and sustainability in systems, so there's both a social and mathematical connection here, is that we want to understand the interplay between individual and community welfare and focus on the fact that the world is actually progressively becoming a better place if we look at the statistical data. And so we'll be exploring and toying with the idea of empirical optimism here as students become statistically literate. They analyze data sets, they summarize data sets so that in the summative assessment of this unit, they can become empathetic citizens who can create surveys, run statistical analyses, and then make conclusions from there to make their school communities a better place. So that is the why this is important, because a lot of the data that we garner from the world is statistical in nature, and that's how we draw conclusions and then create impacts. So that would be the why. Thank you, Jerry. And the what, so my school, the Pine Street School, we use the Common Core State Standards for mathematics. And so I've put those in the right column for the we are able to, the competency strands. And on the left column, we have conceptual strands. So for instance, we understand that, I'm looking at the first top left here, statistical questions anticipate variability in data. A student demonstrates that they understand this by being able to discern statistical from non-statistical questions. So a very nice one-to-one correspondence. If you've understood this transferable concept, then you're able to do this. Another example being statistical data is often graphically visualized. Well, if you understand that, then you're able to display numerical data in scatter plots, histograms, and box plots. And again, the right side is very amenable to importing your own standards and outcomes, whatever systems you're aligned with. And so the ones on the right for me are essentially the grade 6 Common Core standards for mathematics. And then you'll see at the bottom, we have the character piece. And so who do you become after this? It's our hopes that you'll become both curious, a curious, rational problem solver, and a responsible citizen, a responsible contributing citizen. And we'll explore how that happens as we move into the learning flows. Thank you, Jerry. And so the culminating demonstration, which I'm really excited about because my head of school recently went to an IB seminar and found out that one of the best ways to look at well-being in a school is to have a single KPI. And the single KPI is sort of how are you feeling supported in your school community, something along these lines. So my thought was, let's bring this to the students and have them run a well-being survey. So the main question here is, are the people in my school healthy and happy? And the goal is to generate and administer a statistical questionnaire relating to health and happiness to a segment of the school population. So the students will get into groups. Their role here, and we've used sort of a GRASP model for the assessment, would be they're a caring member of the school community, and they want to understand how they can use statistics to create some kind of targeted intervention to increase the well-being of everyone. And so we have the audience, which is the administration. So it's my vision that this piece is actually presented to the head of the school. And then the situation is just essentially the students are running this survey. And so they'll be creating some kind of statistical survey, collecting data from their school segment, analyzing it in a variety of mathematical ways, of course, so mean, median, mode, visualizing it via histogram, charts, taking out outliers, stating the limitations of their conclusions, and of course, generating the actual question itself and understanding that the way in which they administer this questionnaire will have an effect on what they receive as data, right? So we also have our success criteria here. And one of the features of the CGC is this 1-point rubric. And so we have, I am able to generate a relevant statistical question, administer the questionnaire effectively, analyze and generate conclusions, and so on. Thank you, Jerry. And then, so the how itself, the formative learning sequence. From our main compelling question, we then create tons and tons of wonderful sub-questions, the framing questions. And we've divided them into those three categories: conceptual questions. So how do we measure community and individual well-being, for instance? How is statistical data collected? We have competency questions. So what elements make a question suitable for statistical analysis? How do measures of range and deviation help us understand a data set, and so on? And then character questions. Are the best measurements of well-being the same for individuals and communities? And if we recall the character piece earlier, is curiosity and responsibility. And so we really have to be open to, well, what are the standard measures of well-being? And we'll introduce students to lots of those. And are those the best measures, right? Does the way in which statistical data is the way in which it's collected matter, right? Is a survey, is a Google form the same as a paper survey? What might you suspect would happen if you give someone a personalized survey with their name on it versus an impersonal Google form, for instance, right? And how does our curiosity affect the way in which we investigate a statistical question? So lots of open-ended questions on all fronts. And so I've laid out a few sample learning flows. This unit is still very much being created, and I'm very excited that I will be actually teaching this unit. This is my final mathematics unit of the year. So I'll be using this document, and I hope that someone else will be using it as well after iterating on it. And so the first flow has to do with identifying statistical questions and exploring sort of variability. And so it would start with a connection to prior knowledge. So we post a bunch of questions around the room, and doing a chalk talk exercise, students would say whether or not they think this is statistical. You know, how old am I? Is that a statistical question? How old are the students in my class? Is that a statistical question? Right? So connect to what they already understand. And then when we move to construct, we'd start to sort of list the characteristics of statistical questions, and then move into sort of a teacher-led scaffolded instruction on, well, let's poll the class on certain questions and demonstrate variability real time and show them that, okay, there's a spread in data when we ask certain types of questions. And then the final phase of this first flow would be a Harkness style discussion where we would really start to broach the topic of, well, what does well-being mean personally? And how would you measure this? And we would, in the next sequence, we turn to a lot of this SDG data, and we look at a lot of data sets and actually get into the weeds of it, because this is not just a humanities unit. We actually need to be analyzing some data. So in the deconstruct phase here of this competency learning sequence, we're going to be comparing different statistical presentations of well-being data. So child mortality rates, global national or gross national happiness, which is Bhutan's, as I'm sure we all know, Bhutan's answer to the GDP. But how on earth do they calculate happiness, right? So there's a whole basket of goods that go into that. And we'll be looking into how do they come up with our GNH is 88 for the year. What is that? What goes into that number 88? And they've unpacked it very nicely on their website. Child mortality, how do you measure this? Right? What are the units of this? And we'll identify what makes these good questions for analysis. And then we'd move on to the sort of direct and, oh, sorry, I'm on the second phase, Jerry. And let me know if I'm waxing lyrical too much.
No, it's beautiful.
In the identify phase, we'll be looking at unit selection, and we'll be exploring, which I think is quite exciting, the concept of inflation, right? Because one of the elements of calculating inflation, and I do think inflation and well-being are very tightly correlated, is the market basket, right? So how much are the goods and services costing right now versus what they cost? So students can just do a Google search, like what does bread cost on 20 websites now? Find some historical data. What does bread cost a couple years ago? So bread, the cost of transportation, and there's a lot of good literature on what is included in that inflationary market basket. And then practice, well, then we'll actually do some rote practice to make sure that the hard skills are there. So students will be first, of course, given questions and asked to create methods of analyses for those questions. And then they'll be generating their own questions and then creating methodologies for data collection. All of this would be leading towards that final summative piece. And so second competency sequence would be, this one's a little more nitty gritty, but I love this example where we'd be looking into how do mean, median, and mode provide different perspectives on data. And so we'd start by giving them the mean of a sample of test data without showing them the raw test scores, right? And so the mean of this data, if you notice, I bolded it in the bottom, is 48.18, right? 48.18% out of 100. And so then we do a little think, pair, share. What does this mean? I've told you that on average, students got 48% on this test. What statements and conclusions can you draw from that? And then I would show them the median. I'd say, okay, the median score in this test, we'd explain what that is, was a 50. Think, pair, share. And then I'd explain, well, the mode was a 10. And hopefully then they'll be like, what? I thought I had all the information with the average, right? All you hear about is average. And then I'll reveal the data set, and you'll see the data set here. It's 11 10s, 9 90s, and 150 to demonstrate, hey, okay, I don't get all the information with just one of these quantitative measures of center. I need all three to draw any kind of reasonable conclusion, right? And then we would move on to analyzing some data sets from the World Bank. You know, as a teacher, we would sort of pre-specify a list of well-being related data. There's a lot of good information on there, and look at the data collection methods and sample sizes and average values. And then for the practice, students would work through various well-being and health related data sets, computing their own mean, median, and mode. And finally, I've laid out a character sequence as well. And the framing question for this would be, is the best measurement of well-being the same for individuals and communities? So we'd start by considering this, by brainstorming a list of what you think is important for your own well-being. And what's exciting about that is, for instance, for me, I'd be like, it's important for my personal well-being that I watch Lord of the Rings once a week. But as we abstract upwards to school, community, city, country, perhaps that one goes by the wayside, and other elements such as, you know, physical fitness stay. And then, so once we brainstorm the list as a group, we kind of compile and consolidate these items, form higher level categories. And since we're responsible citizens, we're also considering, is anyone's voice left out? Are any obvious measures missing from this? Because of course it depends on the population we've just sampled. And then, as we sort of turn to the reflection, how would we ensure that statisticians accurately capture everybody's health and well-being? So the typical measures of well-being that are used, for instance, in the third Sustainable Development Goal, female to male education rate, infant vaccination rate, child mortality rate, access to electricity, lifespan, physical fitness, exploring how were these measures created? Are they the best metrics to look at community well-being? And are there any ones that seem to be missing? And so these are just some of the sample flows. And then, of course, we move to the classical CGC reflection phase when we look at the teaching and learning of the unit in retrospect. And so this was the flow. Thank you so much, everyone.